It is possible to teach without giving advice. Today, I want to share my experience in participating in a class, a language learning class in Finland for the past 2 years. And I am amazed about how my teacher is keeping space for all of us without giving advice. It is a really new and comfortable experience for me. This teacher is able to value everybody's development, not only in language learning, but also in general state of development. So, for example, this teacher never ever told anyone not to use the translator to prepare written homeworks. To me, it seemed like common knowledge that I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't learn much from that. So I tried to use my own words, and I used to write in a very simple and baby way, but that was the way I was able to express myself. But other people were just using the translator and writing perfect sentences, which neither they themselves nor anybody else in class could understand when they would be reading that. And I myself used to get quite upset about that. How can you be so immature to do that? But the teacher was listening to everything patiently and not giving advice. And now, 2 years later, I can see that people started one by one understanding the same thing, that, oh, if I use my own language, this might be of more use to me. And by now, I have the impression most of the people use their own language when they are writing. Because, not although, but because the teacher didn't suggest that. And the teacher was able to accept our development and to hold the space also for our fears, for example, of expressing ourselves, like making mistakes and writing like a small child, for example, like accepting these fears, and also the fears of exams. There were lots of fears of people from Eastern European countries concerned to exams. Like, the exams we take are really feedback for ourselves, like what did we learn, what is to be developed, what did I understand, this kind of feedback. It's not important to anybody else. But everybody, or most of the people, were so tensed about all the exams for 2 years, and the teacher was accepting that. She was like letting people write from their neighbors and taking their phones secretly and checking the answers and taking even pictures of the questions and translating them. And she 100% noticed that, but she didn't emphasize on that. So nowadays, the teacher asks, are you excited about the exam? People say, no, not too much. It's fine for me. So, and this is invaluable work of the teacher. Like me, coming from Germany, I have never experienced that people don't give advice and let students grow in their pace, like as if grass is growing, like as a teacher, to be the rain and spread knowledge and be even the sun to give like orientation and light, but not to tell people what they are supposed to be doing now. So the teacher is not doing nothing, the teacher is doing a lot by knowing all of that and keeping the space for development. And of course she's teaching, and of course she's sharing all kind of knowledge, and of course she knows her tasks, like her topics, and of course there is right and wrong about language teaching. Yeah, but there's a different way of doing it. And she's developing our skills by sharing the knowledge and also by answering questions. Any kind of question. It can be a very simple question which has been answered already 57 times. But if somebody has this question now because he wasn't ready to hear it even or had that question before, she will answer the question in the same way as she answered the 57 times before. That's also an amazing skill. And also if people have very complicated questions, she won't say, that doesn't belong to this level and I'm not going to tell you, that confuse everybody else. No, she will just answer it. And if the teacher herself doesn't have an answer, she'll ask computer. And she'll find the answer, and she'll be the example for how you find your answer if you don't have it. She won't tell anybody, you can check it up. Look, you type it into Google, it will show you. She never says that. She shares her screen sometimes, and she just does the search by herself. And so she's the example. And she answers the questions to the best of her abilities. And she always finds an answer. So all the questions are treated equally important. And whenever they are coming up, they are important. And that's how we grow. Because if I have this question about a certain topic now, that means that my brain is ready to process it right now. So if I get the answer now, this is an invaluable part of learning. And then what she also does is to keep the space and also to just keep the atmosphere of learning as to be really interested in what people have to say. So she'll be asking questions about whatever now. Topics are getting more exciting now because we are able to speak more. And then she will be really interested in everybody's answer. And also patient in how everybody is able to express himself or herself. So all of this together is an invaluable experience for me. And it also gives me an example of how I would like to accompany people, because I have been a teacher, but I never liked to be a teacher because I don't like to give advice. But it's very difficult to teach people, like to separate that in my head. How can I teach people without actually giving advice? I can speak about myself, about my own experiences, but I can also take myself back and ask people about their experiences and listen carefully. And I can ask when I I can talk about my own experience when I'm asked for it. So when people actually have a question about how would you do that? Yeah. So it's an interesting journey, not only language-wise, but also culture-wise. So, and I also observe people, parents, treating all aged children that way. The same way. Not giving advice, but also not giving away your own authority. Like if you know who you are, like this teacher, then you are, or the parent, then you are this strong lighthouse which knows about like what signals am I sending regularly. I'm sending the light regularly. I'm spreading the information. I'm giving guidance, and I'm giving my presence. And then I value my child or my students equally to myself. So whatever is their state of development is equally important to my state of development now. And I can, if I do that, I don't have to judge about it. Then it's just this development and this development. Even with parents and small children, child has this need, and if I accept that need, I don't have to judge about it and ask to stop crying now. No need to cry. Yeah, there is some need to cry if I cry as a 2-year-old, for example. And then if I accept that, the 2-year-old will be feeling seen in his being and grow from being seen and then move on. People would never pick up their child when it fell down and save it, like, oh, poor child, you fell, ooh. No. People, if the child fell, people say, oh, did you hurt yourself? They will be close. They will maybe offer their hand, that the child can take your hand and get up by himself or herself, and then move on. Like, this is also supporting the ability of doing it yourself, according to your own state of development. So, all in all, I'm really grateful for all these learnings here, and very happy to be able to apply that in my own professional work. Ask the questions, value the person's development, let the grass grow, be the guidance, but don't be superior. Be at the same level. Yeah, and I also, when I already experienced a big change when doing that, it's actually about, I just remember when I did a drawing like that, it also, that was about communication, clear communication. and it made the same thing clear to me. So me and the other person are equally important, equally. And then our communication, this is this triangle, this is the communication. Our communication is balanced. My need, your needs. And it becomes a stable, it becomes stable. And I don't have to apply any things to my communication which don't belong there, like you did something this and that way because you wanted to harm me, for example. So if you leave that out of your communication, it becomes so magical because it's just about the clear expression of this is how it is for me. And you can also listen to how is it for you. And then as a magical result, there appears somewhere in the middle of this communication triangle some connection where I really, or where both of us really like touch each other, like we are connecting. And this is like the expression for connection which happens, and it's a warm emotional contact, and it's closeness, and it's comfortable closeness. And the basis is valuing your own being same as the other person, same. And then you don't have to advise, you just tell this is how it is for me. You can also listen how it is for you. It won't be dangerous to listen because it cannot hurt you because you are already complete. And then there happens this warm interaction, and this you create this space of, let's call it, loving kindness. So a lot of magic can happen by communicating clearly. And this is also what's happening in this class. Teacher is communicating clearly, sending out light, but then let people act according to their abilities at the moment. And interesting growth is happening. The last thing I want to tell is, like, we have 2 classes, language classes, which are running parallel, like 2 classes at the same time, different teachers. And the second teacher seemed to kind of act a little bit different because, for example, in this class, the second class, people still have lots of fears because of the exams. And my guess is that this teacher might have tried to go into this topic of fears. You don't have to be fearful. This doesn't mean anything for anyone here. It's only for you, and maybe discuss that. And by this, by like going into people's fear, like kind of kept them alive, or not even nourished them, because for them the same time has passed and they still feel that and express that, like excitement before exams, and I am wrong and I did something wrong, I'm too small. Yeah, So I want to thank my beloved, grateful, invaluable teacher, Janika. Kiitos, Janika, for everything I learned from you. The language skills, but much more the human skills. You are great.